I don't think that any of us ever set out to be judgmental or critical, but if we're honest with ourselves, we'd probably have to admit that we are that way sometimes. And that doesn't mean that we're bad people. It is unfortunately a natural human tendency that we learn over time and see modeled all around us in society, in the media, in our relationships, in our family, at work, pretty much everywhere. And I think because it does seem to be the norm, we just kind of accept it. And we don't even realize when we are participating in this or perpetuating this. But I think we can also acknowledge that this type of behavior can be really destructive to other people, of course, but also to ourselves. It can erode our mental health and our friendships and even contribute to societal divisions. So today I want to talk about the psychology behind our judgment and offer some easy and practical strategies for transforming it into compassion and understanding, and also explain how doing so can significantly benefit us, both in our happiness and our well-being. But before we start, just a quick reminder that we need to address this topic in a self-compassionate way because, again, we are just human beings and this really is learned behavior. But what can be learned can certainly be unlearned, and it is never too late for us to change our perspective and our mental habits, especially when we know exactly what is going on. So let's go ahead and start there and talk about why we're programmed to judge in the first place. So basically, our brains are designed to categorize people and situations as either being good or bad as quickly as possible. And we may not even realize that we are doing this, but we always are. It's a survival mechanism that is designed to keep us safe. But this practice can also lead to judgmental thinking if we're not consciously aware of it. And one of the biggest reasons why is that we can fall prey to cognitive biases like confirmation bias and the fundamental attribution error. And I have full-length videos on both of these topics if you want to dive a little bit deeper in. But in a nutshell, confirmation bias leads us to only seek out information that confirms our existing beliefs, which is why we all tend to have a favorite news channel and really dislike other ones. Now, the fundamental attribution error is a little bit different. It causes us to attribute others' negative behaviors to what we believe are inherent character flaws, rather than consider any external factors that might be influencing their actions. Whereas in our own case, we are much more likely to attribute our own shortcomings to outside circumstances that are beyond our control. And on top of this, we all have unconscious biases that are so deeply ingrained in us that we're not even aware that they are there. And obviously things like society, the media, our caregivers, and just our overall life experiences can also lead us to be judgmental and critical because they condition us to think a certain way, even when it's counterproductive or not really based in truth. Unfortunately, we just get really used to being in a super critical environment, and this type of behavior does tend to get programmed in. So I'm not going to lie, there is a lot we're up against, but in the end, it's really just a habit that we can learn how to break. It's definitely possible to work through this and to start to develop a much higher level of compassion and understanding for others, which just has so many amazing benefits. We have more fulfilling relationships and we're better able to approach others with empathy and see things from their point of view. We have enhanced mental health with studies showing that practicing compassion significantly reduces stress, anxiety, and depression. Plus, we just tend to be a lot happier because compassion fosters positive emotions and is linked to greater life satisfaction. So how do we get there? Well, believe it or not, we really have to start with self-awareness because to truly understand and empathize with other people, we need to first be able to understand ourselves. And that includes being able to recognize when we're being judgmental and really identifying our own personal biases. A few ways that we can actually accomplish this is to practice mindfulness, self-reflection, and self-observation. We have to begin to catch ourselves in the act because most of the time we don't even notice that we're being judgmental or critical because it's just a habit that we're not even aware of. So this is a great place to start. But the next part of this is actually challenging these judgmental thoughts. We can do this by questioning if there's evidence to support our beliefs and really looking at only the facts in the situation. We need to figure out how we came to this conclusion in the first place and whether or not it is a fair assumption. So we can ask ourselves questions like, is there another way to see this situation? Or is there any information I might be missing here? Or are my assumptions based on facts or just stereotypes? When we start to challenge our judgments in this way, it really does start to open a space for compassion and understanding. And I think another thing that we need to consider, even if it's not our intention at all, is how our judgments might be harming that other person, because judgment really is very distinct from just having a different opinion than someone else. When we judge someone, we're actually making assumptions about their character or their motives, which can of course be hurtful and damaging to their self-esteem. And we know what it feels like because we've all been on the other side of this too. So it's important to remember that the effects of our judgments can reach far beyond just our words. We also have to remember that we can respectfully disagree with someone without criticizing them or trying to invalidate their viewpoint. Everyone does have the right to their own opinion as long as they're not harming anyone, but a lot of times we're not compassionate to their perspective because we don't know their side of the story. We're not seeing things through their lens. We really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So to be able to correct this, we need to start to try to see things from their point of view. Now, one way to do this is to practice active listening and to genuinely seek to understand where they are coming from. So many times that we do this, we can immediately sympathize with their situation and really understand exactly why they are thinking and behaving in the way that they do. And even realize that if we were in that situation and seeing things through their lens, that we would probably do exactly the same thing. So it's so important that we give them our full attention and that we stop jumping to conclusions when they talk. And in the end, if we still really don't understand, we can ask more questions or ask them to share more details. But I think we also need to consider that there could be other challenges that they are facing that they are not choosing to share. It's really all about learning to be empathetic and starting to give people the benefit of the doubt. And we may never really even know the full story, but we have to know that there are always reasons why people think and behave the way they do. And I want to quickly mention that just practicing kindness in general really does go a long way in cultivating compassion and overcoming judgment. We can just try to be a little bit more mindful of our words and actions and actively strive to treat other people with more respect and understanding. And with time, this mindset really becomes a habit and we start to see other people through an entirely different lens, and we become a lot more positive in general because we are treating other people the way we would want to be treated. And this shift is actually huge and really can transform our lives and relationships. And it just makes us feel like the world itself is a better place. It also helps us to be a lot less judgmental of ourselves because we end up extending our compassion inwardly, which of course can be completely life-changing. Working to expand our compassion really is one of the most worthwhile and beneficial things that we can do for everyone involved. So I truly hope that this video inspires you to start making some of these little changes so you can start witnessing this transformation in your own life. I'm going to go ahead and link down a few more videos that I think may also be helpful to you, but I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences, so please feel free to share them in the comments section down below. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.